So today, what I wanted to start off this series with is how to seek God's will for your life. The way that we seek God's will for our life. I know a lot of times it's like, okay, yeah, I know that I want to do something. I have something inside of me that, that I feel like I want to unleash and it's burning inside of me, but I don't even really know what it is. And that was me. I know that God put something inside of me. He planted a seed of hope inside of me. And, but I didn't fully understand what it meant. And so then I began the process and the journey of trying to discover God's will and purpose for my life. Out of Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says, "Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." The world has its recipe, if you will, for success. The world has what success looks like and what purpose looks like. And the world has its own ways of looking at life, right? But God's ways are so different from what the world's ways looks like. And I know for a long time for me, I was looking at success as, okay, I entered into corporate America and I had a whole plan of, climbing up the corporate ladder and becoming CEO of the division that I was working, not CEO, but, an executive at the, of the division that I was working in. I had all of these plans and nothing's wrong with that in and of itself, but that wasn't God's plans for my life at all. And it was a strive, I was striving, I was taking all of these classes and I was doing all of these things and I was, doing all of these things and I had zero energy at the end of the day because of I was striving, and I wasn't really following God's calling and God's direction for my life. And that's what happens when we are doing things in our own strength and we're seeking after those things that we think is God's will for our lives. It's going to feel like it's going to feel like a grind. It's going to feel like a strive. And I was striving and I was getting nowhere. I mean, that was another thing. There was no reason why I shouldn't have been able to climb the ladder the way that I wanted to when I was in corporate America, except for that, thank God, he just shut every door. I'm so thankful that he did. And I would get so upset with God that, he would like, what, God, I had the connections, what's going on, but God just didn't allow me to. And when I really was able to sit before God and really, come to him and and surrender my plans. And I said, here, God, you take my plans because of clearly there's something wrong here. You show me what you have for me. And God began to show me more and more that corporate world was not what he had for me. And, I had to die to that vision and die to that idea because of through college, and through, my young adult life, I always thought that was where I was headed. But when God got a hold of my heart and I allowed him to really speak into this area of my life and my heart, he began to show me something different. And that something different looked different from the way the world sees things and even the way my family sees things. I come from a family which my parents are pretty successful and my sister and my brother are CPAs, and then there's me. I did go to school and I graduated and all of that, but I didn't really go in that direction, well, because God didn't allow me to. But I'm completely in the opposite direction of ministry, and it looks different. It looks different from what my family thought it should look like. It looks different from what I thought it should look like, and it looks different from probably what the world says it should look like. The point is that I got God's vision and I began to seek him for his will for my life. And when I listened to him, I began to get excited for his ideas and for the things that he created me for. Because, the thing is, God's our creator. He created me. He created you. So he knows what purposes he created us for. He knows what, he's the one who called us to our purpose. And so when he began to show and paint the vision for me, and I began to really focus on what that was, it became exciting to me. It became exactly what I was made for. And it was like, man, I don't even want that old thing anymore. It's not even anything I really care to have at all. I'm excited for what God has for me because it's exactly what I was made for. And God has that for you as well. And as Romans 12:2 says, don't copy the behaviors and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. I had to let God get a hold of me and get a hold of my heart. I had to surrender. Surrender is a big word. You have to surrender your will, surrender your life, and say, okay, God, here I am. Have your way with me. You're my creator. You show me, and I will follow. And once we start to do that, he'll begin to fill you with vision and dreams and excitement and purpose. And he's going to then begin to open up doors for you. You know, you guys, that's how I actually met my husband, is by me following after God and his vision. My husband is actually a pastor, and you know, we've been able to do ministry together, and I know that God has even more for us to do together in that way. But if I was chasing the other way, the other direction, I don't know that I would have met my husband in the way that I met him. I don't know that it would have went down the way it went down. And it's so beautiful what God did in how I met my husband and how we got married. It was totally God ordained and a God connection. And I'm so thankful that I surrendered my life and I went in the direction that he showed me. And so my encouragement to you today is seek God's will for your life. Surrender to him. God does not ever disappoint. He never disappoints. He's so faithful. He created you and he knew what he created you to do. And you will be so fulfilled in his calling for your life when you seek after him. So in this series, we're going to be talking some more about pursuing the God-given dreams that God has given to us, pursuing God-given dreams. And we're going to talk about how to pursue your God-given dreams. We're going to talk about why God even gives us dreams for our lives. We're also going to talk about the enemy's plan. The enemy has a plan for your life as well. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the valleys. The valleys are very difficult. It's that in-between space from, from glory to glory, from when God, gives you the promise to when you receive the fulfillment of the promise. Is that in-between space, like Joseph. Joseph was given the dream at age 17, and then there was that in-between very long season of time before he actually saw the fulfillment of God's promises in his life. And we're going to look at his life. We're going to see what some of the things that made Joseph so successful in the eyes of God, and how God was able to catapult him and put him in the highest position just under Pharaoh in all of Egypt. He came out of the valley. He was catapulted out of the valley, actually, and God caused him to succeed. So I am so excited about what we're going to be talking about. I hope you will join me every Monday here on Instagram TV as we grow in the Word together and learn about God's dreams and purposes for our lives. I'll talk to you soon.